This is Gary, the Rad Retro Dude, and today we're looking at the history of Diddy Kong Racing. In 1997, the Nintendo 64 was dominating living rooms all over the world. Games like Super Mario 64 and Mario Kart 64 had already proven that Nintendo knew how to reinvent genres in 3D, but then a surprising challenger appeared, a colorful racing game starring Donkey Kong's little sidekick, and somehow it became one of the most ambitious racing games ever made. This is the history of Diddy Kong Racing. During the 1990s, British game developer Rare was on an incredible run. They consistently pushed the Nintendo 64 hardware further than anyone thought possible, creating some of the most memorable games of the decade. They had already delivered massive hits including GoldenEye 007, Banjo-Kazooie, and Donkey Kong Country. Rare had built a reputation for combining technical innovation with unforgettable characters and worlds. Their games felt bigger, more detailed, more polished than almost anything available at the time. Originally, the team was working on a different racing project called Pro-Am 64, inspired by Rare's classic NES title RC Pro-Am. But as development continued, the team realized they had an opportunity to create something much more ambitious than just another racing game. Instead of simply competing with Mario Kart, Rare decided to expand the idea of what a racing game could be. They began blending racing mechanics with adventure game design, creating something completely unique. When Diddy Kong Racing released in 1997, players quickly realized this was not just another kart racer. One of the biggest innovations was the introduction of an open world hub. Players explored Timber Island, a central overworld filled with hidden secrets, race entrances, boss battles, and unlockable content. Instead of selecting tracks from a simple menu screen, players actually drove around the island to discover new challenges. This made the game feel more like an adventure than a traditional racing game. The island itself was colorful, mysterious, and full of personality, encouraging exploration and curiosity. Another major innovation was the introduction of multiple vehicle types. Players could race using a car, a hovercraft, or even an airplane. Each vehicle handled completely differently and required different skills to master. Cars offered tight control and speed on traditional tracks. Hovercrafts allowed players to glide across water environments. Airplanes introduced fully three-dimensional movement, allowing players to fly through rings and explore vertical space. This variety gave the game a surprising level of depth and replay value. Helping guide players through the adventure was Taj, the genie, an elephant character who could magically transform vehicles and provide hints about progression. Yes, I know, an elephant genie helping you race airplanes. The 90s were truly a special time for creativity in video games. Of course, no great adventure would be complete without a memorable villain. Diddy Kong Racing introduced Pig, a massive intergalactic space pig who had taken over Timber Island and challenged its best racers. Pig was intimidating, strange, and unforgettable. Players faced him multiple times throughout the game, each battle becoming more intense and more challenging. The final confrontation even took place in space, pushing the Nintendo 64 hardware to its limits and giving players a boss race unlike anything they had experienced before. Diddy Kong Racing also introduced several characters who would later become major stars in their own games. Banjo would go on to headline the beloved platforming adventure Banjo-Kazooie, and Conker would later appear in the cult classic Conker's Bad Fur Day. Looking back, Diddy Kong Racing almost feels like a preview of Rare's future successes, introducing characters and gameplay ideas that would shape the Nintendo 64 era. Naturally, the game was often compared to Mario Kart 64, which had already become a fan favorite multiplayer experience. But while Mario Kart focused heavily on chaotic party style racing with friends, Diddy Kong Racing emphasized more of a single player adventure and progression. The game featured a full story mode, boss races, unlockable content, secret keys, and even hidden worlds that rewarded exploration and persistence. Many players appreciate how much content was included, especially compared to other racing games of the time. The soundtrack also played a big role in creating atmosphere, with memorable music that helped bring each environment to life. From snowy mountains to tropical beaches to futuristic space tracks, each world felt distinct and immersive. Diddy Kong Racing went on to sell over 4.8 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling titles on the Nintendo 64. Critics praised its innovation, graphics, creativity, and replay value. Even today, many gamers consider it one of the most underrated games of the 90s. Despite strong sales and positive reviews, a true sequel has never been released. Over the years, fans have continued to request a modern follow up that captures the same spirit of exploration and adventure. That absence has only made the original game more legendary. Diddy Kong Racing wasn't simply trying to copy Mario Kart, it was attempting to push the racing genre forward by blending storytelling, exploration, and gameplay variety into one complete experience. For many players who grew up during the Nintendo 64 era, Timber Island felt like a real place filled with mystery and excitement. It was a game that encouraged curiosity and rewarded persistence. And for many 90s kids, the memories of discovering new races, unlocking hidden characters, and finally defeating Whizpig remain just as strong today as they were back then. Diddy Kong Racing stands as a reminder of a time when developers were willing to take creative risks and experiment with new ideas. And sometimes those risks created something unforgettable. If you grew up with a Nintendo 64, there's a good chance you still remember the excitement of starting up the game, hearing the music begin, and racing your friends late into the night. Even decades later, Diddy Kong Racing continues to hold a special place in gaming history and in the memories of the players who experienced it.